Well, Sláinte, how do you do, buckaroos, and how the heck are you? I apologize for not having the fanfare, but what this is our Anna Chaser program, and I was trying my damnedest to start this thing on time. And in homage to our fearless leader, Jersey Johnny, we're still 15 minutes late.
Yeah, but you know what? I am so used to sitting around waiting for shows to start.
So, Beer
Happy
Samurai,
New Year!
here's what we'll do, Beer Samurai. I want you to introduce the show and tell folks what we're doing today.
Well, you know, you've already welcomed everybody out to the Anna Chaser show, like Johnny does. But what we were doing today is So Johnny can't make it today. Johnny is a little he's on some meds that preclude him from drinking, so he's taking the night off. Now there's nights I've taken off, there's nights Tom's taken off, so it's time for Johnny to take one off, which is fine. And so what we're doing, since it is the first show of the new year, we are doing New Year's inspired cocktails. So, and Tom and I discussed it, and we decided we're going to leave it. What you call a dealer's choice as far as how we're going to pair them.
So Andy, please have something followed by something. Sometimes a beer, a cocktail followed by this or that. Sometimes it's even a snack. So we decided to be dealer choice for me. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a cocktail chased by a beer, then I'm going to have a cocktail to chase the beer. So I got two cocktails going on.
Well,
David, I want you to go first. Tell folks what you're doing there because you're working frantically. So I want you to explain your cocktail first.
Well, I'm in the process of making it. And what I am doing is I'm measuring shit out right now. Hold on. Oh my God, I'm making a mess. It is really hard to pour out of these bowls. So what I decided to do is I wanted to do New Year's Eve inspired cocktail by making a champagne cocktail. That's why I popped a bottle of champagne at the top of the show. But I also, growing up, my grandmother, for some reason on New Year's Eve, she always had pomegranates. So in the beer world, pomegranate usually takes the form of this stuff, right?
Yes.
Grenadine. So
that's a classic.
So I'm thinking, okay, so I've got champagne, I've got grenadine. What can I do with it? Well, one of the champagne cocktails that you don't hear about much anymore is something called a Paris 75.
Oh, we may be crossing paths with my second cocktail then now that you said
that. So Paris 75, believe it or not, the Paris 75 is named after an artillery gun. A 75 millimeter artillery gun. That's where it got its name from. I'm not sure what the connection is.
We'd have the same cocktail, but I'll be damned.
I'm doing a grenadine Paris 75.
There you go. Okay.
So the way you make one of these things, you put your ice in, you put your gin in. Now, I don't know if you're using gin. I'm using gin. Gin, lemon juice, and simple syrup. In this case, I'm just using grenadine for the simple syrup. Right? Let's get this out of there. And then I'm going to grab my strainer. And I'm going to pour it in. Now, I've probably made enough for about 3 of these.
Do what you got to do, brother.
And you're going to pour it in only up to there in the coupe. I don't know if you can see that. Right? Only got up to there in the coupe. And then what you do is you grab your champagne and you top it off. And then if you want to get really friggin' fancy, once you've got it topped off, we're going to take a couple of pomegranate pips. Don't those look beautiful, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to take a couple of pomegranate pips and plop them right in there.
I'm convinced that pomegranates are an alien fruit.
Oh, they have to be. They had to have come to us. And it looks, for all the world, like an Aperol Spritz, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
But it's not dissimilar if you think about it. It's just not bitter. And I got to say, Tom, that's fucking delicious.
All right, man. That's awesome. Well, again, not more time for being a little bit late, but we're not as late as we typically are. So I'm going to.
There is that.
Anyway, but I don't have the excuse Johnny had. I've been off today. I've been home all day. There was no excuse for me to be late other than technology is not my friend.
Well, we had he attempted to start at about 6:15. And it's funny because, on podcasts, and I was just saying this, I told Tom this as well. I've got two partners. One doesn't understand how time works. The other one doesn't understand how technology works. So I spent a lot of time sitting around.
So anyway, let me talk about what it was. You did I am doing a version of a French 75 for my second cocktail, but I am doing
cool. What does it say? Twisted minds think alike, Tom?
Apparently so, because I thought, man, we're never going to cross paths, but we did. You know me, I'm a whiskey guy, but I decided to do 2 gin cocktails. So
do you have a gin?
So I've got a Tiakida product right here from Springfield. But what's different about this is their Songbird gin they call Cardinal. It's a cask strength gin that's finished in port wine barrels. So you can see that little bit of.
That's what it is. I knew it was barrel finished. I just didn't know it was port wine.
So what I did with this for my first cocktail, anyway, it is basically I did a gin version of a Manhattan. Now, if I would have had cherry liqueur, I could have made a Martinez. But this is basically just a gin version of a Manhattan. I've got 2 ounces. I got 2.5 ounces of the gin. I've got a 1/2 ounce of a sweet vermouth. And I'll show you what vermouth I'm using here because I have it here.
What do you got there?
I'm using So I decided, in fact, this was the best possible vermouth that my liquor store had. And I learned my lesson on vacation when I bought a bottle of sweet vermouth to come home with. I spent a lot more than I typically do, and I came home with that bottle, and I went through it rather quickly. It was only a 375, but I spent a lot more on it than I typically would for sweet vermouth, and it made the cocktail so much better. It just goes back to what you hear me say a lot. Your cocktail is only as good as the ingredients you put in it. Yeah. If you're going to spend the money and put a good quality whiskey in your product, well, you need to do the same and put a good quality vermouth in there as well.
Yeah, and I agree. Antica, for me, is one of the best vermouths.
Cherry bitters in here, and then I've got a Collins bourbon cherry in there.
Very nice. Yeah, Antica is my favorite. It's my favorite sweet vermouth, actually. So you've done
this. I got to be honest with you. You know me as a whiskey guy. It's taken me a long time to really warm up to gin, and it's really only been in about the last year and a half that I've been going out of my way to buy gin. And what I found, in all honesty, is I like barrel gin. Whether it's a bourbon barrel, a Chardonnay barrel, a Sauternes barrel, whatever you're putting it in, I tend to like the barreled versions better.
Like a pickle barrel?
Warming up to them, but I will also tell you that I do like the gins that balance that juniper with a lot of citrus and spice. I don't like those big, just juniper forward gins.
So what about a pickle barrel, Tom?
I don't like pickles, Dave.
I know you don't. That's why I asked.
I don't like pickles, man. Yeah, because
you said it doesn't matter what kind of barrel.
That's right. You're right. I meant as far as spirits were.
Oh, so, okay.
Anyways, I digress. So I thought what we might do, and you brought this up, talking about 2025 in the new year. But I thought before we did that, we might revisit 24 that we just finished, talk about some highlights and what we want to do moving forward, some beers, some whiskeys, some cocktails that inspired you to do what you're doing and inspired you to, maybe make some changes for 2025.
Well, one of the things, and it's funny you bring that up because one of the concepts I had for this show, but I didn't know if I can get the ingredients for it, is that we do. So that January is January and February are the 2 last months added to the calendar. Right? I don't know if everyone knows that. Calendar used to start with March. But January, used to start with March. Now January and February were added. January became the first the first month of the year, and it's named after the god Janus. Now, Janus is the god of the new year. Janus looks both forward and backwards, right? Oh, hi, Vanessa. So
Post that comment. Go ahead. Keep going. Talking, Dave.
Janus is the two-faced god that looks both forward and backwards in time. So that's why Janus is celebrated on the new year. And in so doing, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to look back and then we're going to look forward. But the concept that I'd come up with for the show, but I don't know that we could have all done it, was to start the show pretty much cheersing out 2024 with the favorite cocktail that we made in 2024.
Okay.
Now that Aztec, the Mexican hot chocolate cocktail I made, I mean, I drank the hell out of that, and I went through all the ingredients I had for that, and I don't know if I could have found all of them again quickly enough for the show, and then invent a new one to bring in the new year. And the concept I had come with that was this, because I wanted something bright, right? You want the new year to be bright, and you know the thing about a Paris 75, it's got lemon juice in it. You put lemon juice in anything, it brightens it up, right?
It does, yes.
Right? That citric acid does that. So that was the concept. But looking back on 2024, yeah, some of the cocktails, that Mexican hot chocolate cocktail, you know, that to me was the best cocktail I made throughout the year on the show. Love that one. But highlights, Tom, you know I like to travel.
Yes.
Right. My Germany trip was probably the highlight.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Right. Being able, there's two things. I knocked off 2 bucket list breweries, Tom. A 986-year-old brewery called Weihenstephan. You may have heard of them.
It's fun. Yeah.
We went there. We took the tour. We ate in the brew pub. That was such a great experience. And then we went to Bamberg. And in Bamberg, we got to go to this brewery, Ike Schlenkerla.
Gosh, oh man, that's awesome. Oh.
And well, we got to sit there and drink the Maibach off their cask.
Oh gosh, I bet that was incredible.
Oh my God. And Carrie got the Bamberg onion. You got to get the Bamberg onion when you go. It's basically like someone shoved meatloaf inside of a huge onion.
Okay, nice. I got it.
That's really what it is. It was fantastic. So that's got to be the highlight of the trip. But I'll add a low light because right after that, if you remember, we went to Prague. And remember what happened to me in Prague, Tom?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
I spent 3 days in the hospital in Prague. Didn't get to see a damn thing while I was there. So we found we'll get back to Prague. Not this year. And so when we start talking about 2025, I'll bring up this year. So what about you in 2024, Tom?
Well, 2024 was an interesting one for me. Back in February, I gave up a job that I'd had for over 5 years that I kind of let identify me for a while. And that was kind of a difficult decision. But because I did that, I kind of embraced where I am at this stage of my life. I say that I started my third act career as I became a bartender.
Which is a long time coming.
And so I had been a beer tender at a craft brewery for just about 2 years now, but it was about a year ago when they decided they were going to add some spirits and asked me if I would, design some cocktails. So I've really leaned into that. And that's really become my identity now. Actually, is I'm really enjoying this stage, and I don't have the worry that I once did. I'm not managing a budget. I'm not managing people. I get to stand there, talk to people. I get to pour beer, and I get to make cocktails of my own design, and I'm really loving that.
Well, the thing is, when you said that and you talk about it now, I think of it as when you had that job of 5 years and the jobs prior, you were this caterpillar, right? But then as you started doing these shows, putting more stuff up, more content up, at the pub with the Beer Whisperer and all that, you built that cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
You had that cocoon going, and then you quit that job, quit being that caterpillar, quit eating just to survive, came out as this beautiful butterfly doing what you were meant to do.
Right? Yeah. That's what I tell people. I was born to be a bartender.
So absolutely.
as far as travel goes, my wife and I, for a lot of reasons, haven't been able to do much for a very long time. We never really have taken a vacation. We got away for a couple 3 days here and there. An opportunity this year to be gone for 10 days, and so we wanted to pick the most exotic location we possibly could for our. So we chose Columbus, Ohio.
That's why I'm laughing because I know where you went.
Yeah. So anyway, there's kind of a long story around that, but to shorten it up, my wife.
It was that long story revolved around a grocery store, didn't it?
Well, no, this one revolved. So I'll get to that for 2025, but this one evolved around a lot of thrift stores for my wife because apparently Columbus, Ohio, is known for thrifting, and but
Oh, really?
a lot of great breweries and distilleries. So it kind of worked out for both of us. It was a lot of fun. And then as we're talking about cocktails that we had, I mean, I was able to hit a lot of breweries and distilleries that I'd never been to before. And on our anniversary, I had a barrel aged old fashioned that was probably the best I've ever had in my life. That I did make myself. Anyway, but I had a lot of other great cocktails along the way. I was able to. I want to show you this bottle here. I was able to. I know I brought it out here now. I'm not finding it. What did I do with it? I was able to pour my own bottle of honey. I might have put it, honey barrel whiskey. That's what I had on New Year's Eve. Is I poured myself a couple ounces of honey barrel whiskey, and so I only opened one beer on New Year's Eve because I went from two. Well, my shift was 1:30 to 7:30, but it was 9 o'clock before I got home. But I opened this beer I got on vacation from Jackie O's. It is their Cellar Cuvée 15. It is a blend of bourbon or a blend of bourbon barrel aged honey stout and a maple barley wine. It's at 14.7%. So I tell people I only had one beer and one whiskey on New Year's Eve, but it was this beer and a 109 proof whiskey. So that's what I had.
Well, Tom, I've done my pairing.
You got so what's your chaser here?
I'm doing dessert, and I'm starting off with some vanilla gelato. That's just Italian for ice cream. There's a different process, so Italians don't hate on me. I know there is, and I know there's a big difference between gelato and ice cream. The milk fats proportion is a big part of it. What I've done is I've added some. Can you see that I've added some chocolate chips?
Oh, nice.
And drizzled a little grenadine on there, so that I've got a pomegranate chocolate chip ice cream here. So the grenadine will tie it into the cocktail. And of course, I put it in a champagne coupe.
And anybody that knows David, especially from the Lager Room guys, would be disappointed if he didn't have a snack at some point.
I'm always eating at some point, right?
So anyway,
I've got to keep this girlish figure, Tom.
Yeah. That was the other highlight for me. I guess I've been bragging about this a lot, so I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to say it one more time. The other highlight for me was when I had my yearly physical at the end of the year, every number was better.
Good.
My cholesterol was down. My blood pressure was down. Everything was better. And the only thing that I did different, in all honesty, was shed the job that was an albatross around my neck.
But that's the big thing. A lot of the medical issues that we have are created by the stress in our lives. It's the way our bodies handle stress sometimes that send those numbers. Yes, our lifestyle. Yes, Tom and I both like to drink. Yes, Tom and I don't particularly eat the best.
Yeah.
We eat damn good food, but it's damn good food. That's the problem. So, yeah, our numbers go off the scale. Tom and I lead very close to the same lifestyle. The only difference right now is Tom has no stress in his job. My job, on the other hand, is...
Yeah, your job is highly stressful, and I don't... But and it was a trade-off my wife and I made. I mean, we gave up a little bit of financial security for health. And we just cut back on a few things, and it for us it was worth it. But I just couldn't. I just couldn't deal with it anymore, David. I mean, I was getting to where I would grab the handle to go into work, and I could feel my heart starting to race. I could
I get
feel
it.
my chest tightening up, and I said, "Man, at some point, this job is going to kill me if I don't give it up."
Nope, it's a good choice. You should put up Dougie's comment.
Oh, I didn't see the. Let me. Well, I'm not seeing another comment. Oh, there it is. Douglas Smith. There you go. I'm sorry, Douglas. I didn't see your comment there. I was too busy talking and not paying attention.
What else is new?
Oh, there we go.
You took it back off, Tom.
Oh, we did. Okay. Anyway, I digress. So my first chaser, which is always...
let me read the top before you go to your chaser. Let me read Doug's comment here.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Doug said to Tom, "The dream job for the beer and whiskey whisperer is like going to the playground every day. It's not work if you're having fun."
Yep, that's true. I appreciate it. Plus, yeah, I enjoy it. I really do. The irony of it all, though, is I'm actually probably drinking less because I don't have that work stress drinking, and I never drink on shift. And I'm probably the only bartender on the planet that never drinks on shift. But I don't.
But you use a straw to taste what you're making, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I usually formulate everything at home and bring it to work, so I don't taste it.
Gotcha.
I go full mad scientist at home. My wife's usually relaxed as I'm figuring out. It's not just putting the right, because my thing is simple syrup, so it's not just putting the right syrup together, but it's putting that right simple syrup with the right whiskey and the right this, the right. It's that complete balance. So sometimes I got that simple perfect, but I got to get that right whiskey to balance exactly the flavor that I'm trying to get to. So anyway, somebody gave me this beer.
Before you move on, Tom, I'm going to interrupt you one more time. Sorry, but a shout out to Tom's wife, because they went to Columbus and they went thrift shopping. Every time that his wife goes thrift shopping, she gets him an amazing piece of glassware.
Oh yeah,
and I know about it because Tom always sends it to me, going, "Okay, what is this one called? What is this one called?"
A glass expert.
But man, she gets him some really cool glasses in these thrift shops. So shout out to Tom's wife. Happy New Year.
So my wife will complain about my glassware addiction, but she definitely enables me.
Okay, so onto your beer.
So anyway, a friend had given this to me, which is why I'm having it now. But it's a cranberry holiday ale, which I thought would be perfect to chase that gin cocktail. And then I've got another cocktail that's going to chase this beer. But let me show you. Look at that color. That is gorgeous, isn't it?
And that is one of the new glasses, isn't it?
No, this is an old one.
This is
my last hurrah with the Christmas glass.
Excuse me. Yeah.
It away, but I thought, well, I'd use it for today's show since we're talking about holidays. Nice. So tell me a little bit more about that dessert.
It's really just it was delicious. It's gone. It's already gone. It was vanilla gelato, chocolate chips, and pomegranate juice. And man, that is tasty. Put it this way. So what was going on at one point was there was I texted Carrie to sneak in the room and taste this cocktail. She goes, if you've got enough to make another one, please make me one. She only got a taste of it. So she just
go give her a cocktail or make her one. You take the time to do that. I'll fill the air.
Oh no, I've already done it. She's standing right there.
Hi, Tom.
So I need to get the ratio right here. Yep, I made enough to make 3 of these. There we go, as I thought. And the one thing I didn't mention at the top of the show, Tom, this is actually my first alcoholic beverage of 2025.
Is it really? Wow. Well, I can't say that.
No, see, I don't know if you caught the Big Beer Show at the end of the year, where I kind of disappeared at the end of the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because now that's not the reason I haven't drank since then, but part of it was, I just realized I could probably could probably deal to use some time off. And last night on the locker room guys show, we said John can't drink, and the guest that was scheduled had to cancel because she's from Baltimore and they were snowed in.
Oh gosh.
Right, so she had to cancel. She's trying to find ice melt to open the brewery up. So she didn't have time, but she'll be on next week, which is great. So we decided to do a non-alcoholic beer show, which is against everything I stand for, but we did it anyway. And I'm referring to it as the first and last annual Dry January show. We learned two things.
You gotta do, man. I hope Johnny's doing okay, though.
Oh, he's doing okay. It's nothing major. But we learned two things from that show. One, non-alcoholic beer. Oh, you take the alcohol of beer, it's not very good. Also, when you take the alcohol out of the locker room, guys, we're not very good. That was probably the most boring show we've ever done in our almost 5 years now. So we're never doing that again. We promise we will be at least slightly inebriated for every show going forward, folks.
One of you can be, but we need at least one of you geared up a little bit.
Oh man. So yeah, that was I'm gonna put this gelato in the fridge before it melts all over the place. I don't know about you, but when it comes to ice cream, I like to sit it in the fridge for about an hour beforehand to get it to the right consistency, because ice cream frozen solid, it's hard to scoop up. You usually wind up bending your scoop. It's not as enjoyable to eat.
See, I'm with you, but my wife doesn't like that soft consistency, but that's how I like it. I always leave it out, let it soften up, but
Yep.
she doesn't like it as soft as I like it. Dirty.
So I got a second one.
That didn't come out the way I wanted to.
So I made myself a second one of these. So I chased my first one with the dessert. It was freaking delicious. And then I'm chasing the dessert with that same cocktail again, because I got a whole damn bottle, and I got a bottle of Korbel because
nice.
Is it my favorite champagne? Not even close. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to use my good champagne on a cocktail. And I know, Tom, that goes against what you stand for. You use your best stuff. But I'm not using an $80 bottle of Veuve Clicquot for a champagne cocktail.
I'm going to show you my last cocktail. That's going to make more sense. I'm going to you I'm going to be right back.
Okie dokie. So Tom's off to make his other cocktail now. This Paris 75. It's funny because his next cocktail is also based off of Paris 75. It's rare that the only time that Tom and I have done the same cocktail or take on the same cocktail on the same show has been a Manhattan. And I would love to see the stats, if anybody's keeping a stats on the show, how many Manhattans the three of us have drank on this show. Because I love them, Johnny loves them, Tom loves them. So the Manhattan is probably the king of this show. We should really call it Manhattans and Other Drinks rather than Hannah Chaser, I think. Right, Tom?
Well, the fun thing is when I was doing some reading to look up, because for me, New Year's Eve cocktail growing up was different than with most folks, because New Year's Eve cocktails was basically shots of whiskey growing up to what I did. But so to do
in the woods, right?
What were classic cocktails, and oddly enough, on almost everybody's list, the Manhattan did show up as a New Year's Eve cocktail. So
very interesting. So you've done both. You're going to do both.
And I've said it in a lot of videos, but as I was reading, I came across it a lot, that the Manhattan is basically a template for many straight up cocktails. You're basically swapping this out for that, but you use that Manhattan for that template. So this particular drink is based on the French 75, but again, I'm using that Songbird gin that's finished in port wine barrels.
So you're going to come up with close to the same color that I have, but for a different reason, or are you using grenadine as well?
So what I've got here is that gin. I've got 2 ounces of that gin. I've got 1 ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice. I'm using
Freshly squeezed is important.
a so fresh squeezed that I forgot I had cuts on my hand.
Oh.
Yeah, like, oh, wife says, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, your husband's an idiot."
Well,
Anyway, we're talking about.
He's a lovable idiot.
You were talking about using Corbel. I'm just using some prosecco here.
La Marca. When it comes to the mass prosecco in this country, is probably the best of the mass prosecco.
Yeah, because I didn't want to spend a lot of money, but it does go to what you hear me say all the time is it's only going to be as good as. But I didn't want to go crazy here because I was just making one cocktail.
What's interesting, I forgot to mention about the Corbel.
I'll and show you that. Actually, I not quite the same color, but because the lemon and the.
Now you did the same way. Did you do the same way I did, where you took the lip? Did you put simple syrup in it?
Yes. So I did forget that part. Yes, I did. I did put. I went light on the simple. I just did a half ounce of simple.
Okay. Because the classic Paris 75 is equal parts lemon simple syrup, and then twice as much of the gin, and then you top it off with the champagne.
You know.
But the thing about the Corbel.
So what I did here is this particular cocktail has 2 ounces of the gin, half ounce simple, but 1 full ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice, and I topped it off with the prosecco there.
So it's very, very close. But a
a slightly more tart version, but it works for me because I don't like a lot of sweetness.
But a quick word on the Corbel. So the interesting thing, for the longest time, the sparkling wines created in California, they had the balls to call it champagne. But as we know, champagne can only be, you can only can't call champagne if it's from the Champagne region of France. But we're Americans, so like, how would you call it what?
Like rename the Gulf of Mexico,
and we're going to annex Canada and Greenland. But other than that, so what they've done now is, the California wine producers wanted to be taken seriously. And if they want to be taken seriously, they want to respect. You got to show respect, right? So they decided to finally show respect to those that came before. So this Corbel is from California, different state. And they're now calling it California champagne, rather than just champagne, so that they're delineating it. True to being an American, we have not backed off the fact that we're going to fucking call it champagne, but we're also going to give respect, and we're not going to confuse it with French champagne. We're going to call it California champagne, and that is Corbel. So that is what they're doing now. And it's not a bad damn champagne for $15 a bottle. I'll give them that.
I mean, I can remember, again, with my upbringing in the 80s, Corbel was thought to be top of the line.
Well, because we didn't know any better when we were younger, Tom.
California, too, so.
And there's that. I grew for New Year's Eve, we drank some Moet Chandon Extra Brut.
Mm.
Well, because the company I work for is owned by Moet, LVMH. Mm-hmm. And the M and the H at the end of that is Moet Hennessy. So every now and then I get a pretty damn good deal on this stuff. Also part of that group is Veuve Clicquot, which is probably one of my favorites that are readily available in the U.S. Dom is just a little too dry for me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, but I like the Dom Rosé. I really like the Dom Rosé. To me, Dom is like the sake of champagne because I like it.
That's good for me.
Say it again.
It's not too dry for me. It's too expensive for me.
Well, there's that too.
It's money on anything. It's going to be whiskey.
There you go. Absolutely. Now, speaking of, we're talking about what happened in 24. You wanted to talk about some of our best liquor acquisitions in 24. You did talk about a little bit what you got in Columbus, but I know you got a lot more than that you appreciated.
So as I'm looking at my bar cart, I've finished off a few things, but there was a time when I had I came back with 17 bottles. and not and a couple of them were these smaller bottles. So but I mean, I came back with 17 bottles, and I got home and I looked at all the whiskey that I had, and I was very proud of myself for the fact that I had none of the names, right?
Right.
I came home with all this stuff, and I put stuff here, there, and everywhere, and all I had was small distillery product. I thought to myself, "Damn, Tom." So, what I find interesting, though, as craft beer guys, we pride ourselves on always buying small. But
Yep.
craft beer guys that are also whiskey guys don't think that same way when it comes to whiskey. They want to have big name whiskeys that everybody has, and I try to go that opposite direction. Is always buy small, whether I'm buying whiskey, whether I'm buying beer, whether I'm buying wine. I want to visit these small distilleries, wineries, uh, breweries. That's what I want on my bar cart. That's what I want in my cellar. That's what I want. I want small distillery product. I don't want the names everybody knows.
And you know what? I am 100% with you with that. The only issue is, for me, let's face it, you live a lot closer to Kentucky than I do. So so you've got some distilleries around that area that know how to make whiskey. I live in New Jersey, Tom. Now we've got our distilleries, we've got some damn good distilleries, but finding one that makes a really good and that's been around long enough to put out a good whiskey, right? Because whiskey takes time,
It does, yeah.
right? So that's the issues that I come across. So I don't have a lot of small batch whiskeys from local distillers. As a matter of fact, I just finished one off that was a smaller distillery. But the one thing in 2024 that I found is a what you call it, a distillery in Morristown, New Jersey, called Dismal Harmony. And what I made this cocktail with, and Tom will be proud of me because it's a local, was their gin called Afternoon Tea.
And I used a local gin as well. We should both be proud of ourselves. We are wonderful human beings, David. Look at us.
That is a beautiful thing. The what I almost did, Tom, I almost swapped out the gin. I didn't know what it was going to do because another distillery in Asbury Park called Asbury Park Distilling, really unique name, but they make an amazing aquavit.
Oh, that would have been interesting too. Yeah.
So I was thinking of doing that. I said, let me not mess around too much. Let me do it with a gin. This gin's different enough because it's got it actually has black tea in it. So it's got the requisite juniper, but there's also some black tea and other herbs in there. But I almost did this with aquavit, again from a New Jersey distillery. But it's just New Jersey distilleries; they're just not quite there with the whiskey yet for me to be where you are with loading up my bar with the local product.
Well, you did mention Kentucky, so I'm about 8 to 8.5 hours away from distilleries in Kentucky, but I do have some stuff very good close to me. I mean, I've got Teakidal right in my backyard. There's a couple good ones in St. Louis. There's a handful around the Kansas City area. So there are some good ones I can get to within about 3 to 4 hours.
I just said closer. I didn't say close because you know how far I am from Knoxville, right? Not Knoxville. That's Tennessee. From Lexington, right?
There's a lot of distilleries right around Louisville or Bardstown, Kentucky.
Okay, so that for me is probably 14 hours.
Hmm.
So you are closer.
And a half. So yeah, I am closer. But I guess my point was that there are some very good distilleries where you don't have to go all the way to Kentucky for.
Yes, and that's the point. But you're closer, so I think the craft has leached out more towards your area.
More southern than you. Maybe we're thinking more whiskey in my neck of the woods than you are. You northerner folks.
Well, you also got to remember, and this is not a disparaging note whatsoever.
post a comment there.
Your area is more we say redneck.
No, well, no, I didn't say that, but you wouldn't be incorrect.
And I don't say it in a disparaging way. It's more like the heart of America, where you got where I am. We're close to New England, so we have we have more of that ties still probably to England than the center of the country does. So gin is probably more of a bigger thing up in the Northeast.
Yeah,
a lot of good gin up here.
I want to read Douglas Smith's comment real quick. I love that. Be it gin, rum, or whiskey, supporting these locals is a great thing. Thanks, Douglas Smith. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And yeah, almost all of them make a vodka, because let's face it, making a vodka is not a really tough thing to do. It's making a refined vodka can be. But so you're always going to probably find a good vodka somewhere. Gin is all about how you blend it, because let's face it, gin is just an herbed vodka. In a sense, it's a neutral spirit with some herbs in it.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. So aquavit is an herb.
You're trying to hide flaws by adding other things, but not doing a good product.
Right. So, how is that second cocktail of yours, Tom? How you enjoy it? Oh, it's half gone. More than half gone. That's the lemon I'm seeing.
Honest with you, I've never made this before. This was a first time thing for me, and I really enjoy it. It's delicious.
Yeah,
was to spend $10 to buy the prosecco. To be honest with you, I mean, don't mind spending the money that I did on the gin or anything else, but spending the $10 on the prosecco, that was tough.
So,
one cocktail.
What was in 2024 on the show? What was your favorite moment on the show?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. Gosh, I can answer that off the cuff.
I can go first if you need some time.
Yeah, you go first. Let me think about that, because I'm not sure.
So I think one of my favorite moments on the show was when we did the National Tequila Day show, because Tom was up and down swore, I can't stand tequila. And he got himself some agave spirits. And by the end of the show, he's like, you know what? I like this stuff. And that was one of my favorite moments on the show, because Tom knows this. As a beer geek, handing someone a style that they said they didn't like because they never had a good one, and them going, wow, but I like this. Those are good moments. Those are good moments. So being able to done that to the Whiskey Whisperer with tequila, that was one of my favorite moments on the show.
That's nice. Yeah. The thing about that was, so I my very first hangover was from Cuervo Gold.
Everyone's first hangover is probably from Cuervo Gold.
Anytime I get near that, if I'm within sniffing distance of Cuervo Gold, I want to upchuck.
But that's my point, is that most people who hate tequila is because they've only had Cuervo Gold.
That's actually true. But you know me, I wanted to do something. I wanted to buy good quality, but I wanted to keep it local. That's why I had the agave spirit from Tiakida and not actual tequila. But yes, I have to admit, I did enjoy it.
The only reason it wasn't actual tequila is because it was not actually made in Jalisco. More than likely, they got their agave syrup from Jalisco and distill it there on site. So it's every bit of a tequila, just it doesn't have the pedigree.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. So in the U.S., anything that's made with agave, if it comes from Jalisco, doesn't matter where that agave comes from, locally sourced or whatever, but the agave farming in the U.S. is nascent. Most of the agave farming in the United States that is done, that's turned into an agave spirit, is grown by the people making the agave spirit. So almost every agave spirit you find that does not have an agave farm attached to it, they're getting it from Mexico. That's where they're getting it from. So, but because it's not done in Jalisco, it cannot be called tequila. Just like, we shouldn't be calling this champagne because it's not done in Champagne, right? Now,
Well, do.
and the prosecco that Tom's drinking actually is from Val di Biadne, Italy. La Marca is from there, but La Marca is actually owned by a German conglomerate. I'm not kidding, because when Carrie and I were in Val di Biadne, we went to the Adamo wineries,
Yeah.
and we had their prosecco. So now we're prosecco snobs, and you'll probably, unless I'm making Aperol spritzes, you'll probably never see me with La Marca, because we became snobs. But they showed us we're up on their hill where they grow their wines, and they pointed out La Marca factory. And they called it a factory, not a winery. But it actually does come from Val di Biadne. But a lot of the Proseccos that we get here don't come from Val di Biadne or Caniglione, where Prosecco is supposed to come from. So again, we're doing the Italians dirty by calling our Prosecco Prosecco. Sometimes it shouldn't be called that, but that's that's where we are with a lot of the spirits these days. And that's where we are with the tequila. But we, in the United States, we call it agave spirit. We do give that much respect to tequila that we won't call our agave spirit tequila. We call it agave spirit. So you had that, and that was one of my favorite moments on the show was, opening Tom's eyes to agave.
I did like it, yes, I must admit.
And that made me happy.
Open the bottle, yeah.
So, did you come up with your favorite?
I didn't. There were a few moments. I'm trying to think of one in particular, and I can't come up with it on the spot. I wish I had thought of it harder earlier.
Okay, so maybe we'll come back to it if it hits you. You want to move on to what we're looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah, why don't you start, Dave?
Well, again, we're going back to traveling. And I've got a couple more bucket list breweries on the list, Tom, for 2025.
Looking for 2025.
One is domestic, and a couple of them are international again. So the domestic trip will be in April, and we are going to Austin and San Antonio. And most beer geeks, when they hear Austin, immediately they're going to think, okay, so he's going to Jester King, and they're absolutely right. That's been on my bucket list for a while. We will be hitting Jester King. I'm hoping that I might be able. I don't think we'll be able to do the show from there, but the Locker Room Guys show. But that's one. Internationally. So, Tom, did I tell you where we're going to in the summer?
No, where are you going?
We are going to Amsterdam and Belgium.
Oh, are you really? Oh, gosh.
So Cantillon is on the list, the bucket list. Cantillon is, on a lot of beer geeks' bucket lists, especially those that like sours. Drei Fonteinen is also on the list, and also I've got to see if we can get to the Alvin. Brasserie Alvin. Is it Brasserie or Browery? I can't remember what it is. But I want to get to Alvin. Alvin does some really spectacular beers that would be challenging to the American consciousness. Not so much the palate. If you didn't know what you were drinking, you'd still love it. There's a beer they make called Melchior. Tom, if I told you I'm going to make a beer with mustard seed.
Okay.
That'd be your reaction. But Melchior is made with mustard seed, and damn good beer that is. So I'm looking forward to getting some Melchior right from the brewery. Hopefully they'll have it when we're there, so we'll see. But also get to a bucket list of bar. Ever hear of Bar Delirium or Delirium Bar?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be staying within stumbling and staggering distance of Delirium Bar, Tom.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Some Nocturnum up close and personal.
Well, it's not Brewery Hugans, which makes the Delirium products. They are tied to them, but they are tied to them. So they do have the pink elephant outside the front, but they're I wish I had a binder on hand that I could of the size, but I think I put it in storage. you get a binder this thick, Tom. That's the beer list.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if you ever watched Three Sheets, but Three Sheets, Zane Lamprey goes to Delirium Bar, and they take him behind the scenes to the shelves where they house it all.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and the thing about Delirium Bar, every beer is poured into the appropriate branded glassware. That's impressive. That's impressive. That takes some training.
Nice. Very nice. So you talked about what I would be looking forward to in 2025, and you
Yes.
made, well, you talked about a grocery store. So the grocery store
Yeah.
is 2025. So anyway, my wife and I, well, actually, our daughter heard about a grocery store in Cincinnati called Jungle Gyms, a great international grocery store. And she said, you should stop. So we said, okay, let's give it a shot. This thing is so much bigger than I imagined. We spent 3.5 hours there and barely and we had to go because we had to go and we had places we needed. So I said, dear, we've been here 3.5 hours. We were there for 3.5 hours. I spent $450
Wow.
at a grocery store. And that's not counting the liquor, actually. That's just the groceries. Because you
So
got to buy liquor separate because Ohio is bizarre. They've got some weird ass liquor laws. Liquor has to be bought separately. So if I count the liquor, I spent about $600 in 3.5 hours.
damn, that is amazing.
Crazy, but it's enough that we decided our next adventure is going to be going there. So we're planning on spending about 4 days in Cincinnati next year. In Cincinnati, but we're going to spend a lot of time at that Jungle Gyms because you need more than a day to be there. Especially for somebody like me that likes to cook. So, I mean, I've been making lists of because so they have ethnic aisles that are listed, right? It's an international grocery store, so you got to pick each aisle you go through. We couldn't go through every aisle because we didn't have that kind of time. So,
Oh, wow.
everything I need to buy, very specific spices, hot sauces, spices, herbs that I need to buy. This is going to be an ordeal.
Yeah, but you know what? I think you're up to it.
So the plan is we're going to spend 8 hours one day just buying all the dry goods, and the last day we're there on before we head home is then I go back. We buy the stuff for the freezer, the fresh goods, the meat, the cheese, and that's what.
I will be disappointed if you get out for under $1,000, Tom.
Oh, yeah. There's no way in hell. Surprise! I can get out of there for under $2,000 if you want to know the truth. And that was the thing. I mean, we were there for 3.5 hours. I spent well, if you include the liquor, I spent about $600. I mean, it was insane. But the products they had, the spice, I bought a lot of spices, a lot of herbs, a lot of this, a lot of that. But because we weren't heading straight home, I could only buy dry goods.
Of course. So you got to bring the cold packs. You're gonna bring the cold packs. Yep.
Dry ice. But the idea is we're going to spend one full day there just doing nothing but dry goods, getting that out of the way, then taking another day on the last day we're there and getting the cold stuff, right? Getting the deli stuff, the meat, the cheese, the seafood, that sort of thing.
A few more comments up there, Tom.
We post that comment from Douglas Smith. You've got to get the Brew Guru to tell a story about when we visited Jungle. Oh no, I didn't realize you guys have been there before.
He said that last time you brought up Jungle Gyms.
Yeah, so my wife and I had just in fact, our daughter heard about it by accident on a program she was watching, texted us while we were on vacation, and that changed our whole thing.
He's got there's 2 comments prior to that.
Oh, sorry about that. Delirium is great.
Yeah, Mort Sabit. I've got to find out how close we are to Mort Sabit.
And Vince,
Ah,
oh no, I'm not surprised he has been,
yeah.
because that man's been everywhere.
Oh, very nice. Oh, that's an older one. We've already done that one, Tom.
We've been there. All right, all right.
So yeah, no, we'll yeah,
Chicago. No, again, it was just. I know my wife and I aren't. We haven't gone to a lot of places, but we haven't gone to. We hadn't been able to take a vacation like this in a long time. So even though Columbus, Ohio, it wouldn't be an exotic location to many. Going to a grocery store in Cincinnati might not be an exotic location to me. For us, it is just what we needed at that moment in time.
hey, if you enjoy it, that's amazing, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we're both so 2025. We're planning our vacation around a grocery store. Yes, we are. I've already asked for the days off. I'm looking for hotels, Airbnbs. Yeah, we're already planning that vacation for this year. So.
Well, a week from today is my first vacation of 2025.
Where you going, David?
I'm going with my younger son. We're doing, and I've told you this before. I like to do him and I like to do geocaching.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're going to start in Atlanta. He lives in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm going to fly to Atlanta. He's going to pick me up. We're going to go through Alabama, Mississippi, geocache through there, and we're going to wind up in New Orleans.
Oh wow, that's nice.
We're going to spend a full day in New Orleans, and then we're driving back to Columbia, and then I fly home. So it's a whirlwind trip. But we're going to get some of the oldest geocache. We're going to get the oldest geocache in South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi while we're at it. But we're going to have some damn good food. And since it's his car and he's driving, I have scheduled every lunch to be at a brewery.
There you go.
There we go. Before Doug says anything, yes, I did reach out to the Brew Guru that I will be blowing through Atlanta on 2 separate days. And if he's nearby and if he wants to, he can work it out to join us. Great, but our timeline is kind of tight. So if he can't, that's cool. But that's going to be the first trip. Then the next trip is the Austin San Antonio. No, the next trip actually, my daughter comes up for her spring break. She likes to spend.
Very nice.
Yeah, she likes to spend right because she's 15, so she likes to spend her spring break with her old man. And
why?
Probably in a couple of years, that's going to end, right?
Why? You just got to ask why.
But I'm taking her to Philadelphia, so we're going to do Reading Terminal Market, get some cheesesteaks. We're going to do all the historical stuff, see the Liberty Bell, do all the tourist crap. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Then April, San Antonio and Austin, and then August we have, like I said, Netherlands and Belgium. In September, I am returning to San Francisco, and more than likely we'll be doing the Lager Room Guys show from Almanac Brewing.
Oh, nice, very nice.
So Kevin, I've talked to him about it. Kevin from Almanac, he's become friends of the show. I made friends with him when I was out there last. And so, we're going to go out for dinner one night, but also we're going to do the show from the brewery. Hopefully he can talk his bosses into it. And then probably maybe later in the year, I've got to get back to Rhode Island. And Doug knows what I'm talking about. Rhode Island gets into your bones. And you just kind of fall in love with the place. And, that was my home away from home. I'm a Jersey boy, but, I also kind of belong to Rhode Island a little bit. So hopefully we'll be able to spend a long weekend in Rhode Island.
All right, man. So any last words before we wrap this one up?
Well, we've got to make some people do resolutions for New Year's. For the show, I'm going to put a few things out there for this show, for the Anna Chaser show for 2025.
Do what you got to do.
One, as we did with the Agave show, we will challenge Tom again at some point.
Tom had 2 gin cocktails. When have you seen him do that?
This is true. So we've been expanding Tom's horizons, and man, he's been a trooper. Yeah, he's bitching and complaining, kicked and screamed, but man, he does it. He digs in and then finds out that wasn't so damn bad after all. Now was it? So we've got that. So we'll continue to challenge Tom. We are going to continue to do our best to bring you some great cocktails from somewhere deep within our brain cases. Um, with the experience we have, with the knowledge we have, and that twisted sense of humor that we all seem to possess on the show. And we so Doug Smith has commented in the past.
So Rhode Island and Ireland, I love it. He says,
Oh yeah, those things. I won't get to Ireland again this year, but I probably will get back there at some point. But those are the things that get into your heart and your soul. But the other thing is, we're going to make these cocktails. We are talking about putting together a recipe book, a cocktail book.
yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yes,
we'll be working on that through the year. But we're just going to bring you the best cocktails we can. And Doug Smith came up with one, Tom, that he says that he knows you have a bottle of. So we're going to confirm it right here on the show. A Laird's Applejack show.
Oh, I would love to do that. Yes.
So
Applejack show. Yeah.
Well, John and I live in the state that produces Laird's.
Yes, I didn't realize that at the time, but yes, Laird's Applejack is the best. So yes, I am all for that.
So we're going to do that, and another one that we might challenge you on. Maybe try to do. I don't know. Maybe do a cocktail based on Malort.
Oh God, no! Please. Well, it's like foot sweat and sadness.
But that's the challenge. Make it drinkable. Make it drinkable, Tom.
So if I can find it, because it's not available in my neck of the woods, if
I got news for you. I will send it to you. You can order it online. And that way I don't feel bad if you hate the stuff and never drink it again and wasted the money. I will send it to you when and if we do that show.
All right. If that happens,
and Doug just gave us the laughing faces in the comment.
All right, man. I guess we're going
to miss one. I did not know that Doug was an Irish citizen.
I didn't know that either.
And he says next year he's going to retire and retire to Ireland.
Well, there you go. Well,
where are you going to live in Ireland?
He deserves it. He's I know he's a Marine. I know he spent I don't want to mention a job, but I know he's done a lot for us. So
yeah, there's been rumors. Well, I'm not even going to get into that. But yeah, so you got to let us know where you're going to be in Ireland, Doug. And then you'll have to let us know what name to look you up under in Ireland. And absolutely, definitely would come visit you in Ireland.
Use the name Arturo.
Arturo? Arturo.
No, that
was his name in Tijuana, right, Tom?
No.
So he's going to be in Dublin. Oh man, okay.
Nice. Very nice.
Very, very nice. So yeah, I think we can make that happen.
Mercy. Anyways, David, Douglas, anybody that might be listening to us at this moment in time, hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate Johnny for letting me semi-host this, even though we had some technical difficulties. And as Chaser, I got to be honest with you, David. I am honored to be part of you, Jersey Johnny, to be able to do this show. I'm grateful that you asked me to be a part of this show. So thank you.
We're so happy to have you on the show. And if you go back through the history, Tom and I have known each other a long time. I may have known Tom longer than I've known John, as a matter of fact. Because Tom and I, we were members of Beer Drinkers United.
We haven't met in person, but yes, that's true.
We've known each other a long time with Stuart Picard, Mitch Steele, who's brought up at a recent on a recent show, is in that. Doug Smith is in that. Stara Dunsky, the Brew Guru, is in that. There's a lot of names of some of the beer luminaries of the world that are part of the Beer Drinkers United. That's an elite group of drunks. I'll tell you that right now. And so Tom and I have known each other for a very long time. Like I said, I'm pretty certain I've known Tom longer than I've known John. And when we started the Lager Room Guys, John and I, when we started having guests, I said to John, like, we need to have Tom Bofahill on. And he was dubious at first. Like, well, he's not a brewery owner, he's not a distributor, he's not a bartender. And I'm like, no, but he does this, he does that, he does that. And we had him on that first show. That show was, man, that was an atomic explosion, that first show with Tom on. And you've been on quite a few times. So at the end of that show, John was like, yeah, that was a good call. That was fun. So that's how the thing all progressed. And you'll hear more of the history when we actually put the book out. I'll probably write the foreword as to how the Anna Chaser show came about, because that's part of the history of it, and that'll be part of it. I've got the framework all laid out, Tom. I'll have to send that to you, so you know where we are with this and my thoughts behind it and how we're going to break that book up. But we want to have probably at least 100 to 200 cocktail recipes in there, all that came out of, like I said, are really sad and twisted brain cases.
Well, something had to happen there.
So,
yeah, I am Tom the Beer Whisperer. You know who I am. I want to thank Jersey Johnny, who's not here with us tonight. But David, any parting words before we shut this down?
Oh man, we're thankful for those who have supported us, followed us, helped to continue us grow this particular project of ours. And we gain listenership and viewership every time we do a show. So everybody, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we promise we're going to have some really cool things coming up in 2025. And we promised at one point we're going to have guests in 2025. That's when it's going to happen. We will start to have guests here and there. Tom's got some inroads, John's got some inroads, I've got some inroads, so you'll start to see some of that.
All right. And again, thanks again to Johnny. Yeah, there are some folks I've been talking to in this neck of the woods that have said they would, but things keep coming up. But anyways, I am, you know who I am. We're just going to skip to the end. I'm going to say all around good guy. And thanks, again, thanks to Jersey Johnny for letting me host this episode, and the Beer Samurai for lending his insight as we shut this down.
See you in 2 weeks, folks.